This was the moment at 10:30 on March the 31st on the M11 when Kieran Grant was caught with 19 kilos of cocaine valued at £2 million.
Is there anything in the car or on your person that I need to be aware of?
In the boot.
In the boot?
What's in the boot?
Drugs.
How much? What is it?
A lot.
A lot?
Okay.
Okay. Alright, mate.
And don't forget, this video is sponsored by DB Bulldogs. Don't forget to follow on social media and keep up to date with their story. Kieran was moving the drugs for somebody else. He was a courier and he was jailed on Friday the 13th, ironically, for 8 years for what he did. He was stopped on the M11 on the 31st of March and he quickly admitted to the police that he had a large amount of drugs in the boot. The 40-year-old from Southend was stopped on the London-bound carriageway on junction 8 and he was driving a Skoda Fabia and it showed up as being uninsured. Once he got out of the car, officers began to question him and they said, "Is there anything we should be aware of?" And he immediately replied, "It's in the boot." When they said, "What is in the boot?" he said, "Drugs, a lot, cocaine." When the vehicle was searched, they found 19 kilos of cocaine that was in the boot and being transported in 2 bags for life. The drugs had a wholesale value, the police said, at £660,000 and a street value of £1.9 million. Grant was arrested and subsequently charged with possession with intent to supply. He admitted both charges at Basildon Crown Court and was jailed for 8 years. The detective in charge of the case said, "This was a very big seizure and it was undoubtedly destined for the streets of Essex. We know too well that drugs cause a lot of issues in the community and the people that supplied them are guilty of doing this." So that is a really good example of the dangers that are posed to people that choose to carry large amounts of drugs and are also uninsured. In this other news, staying in the Essex area, police have jailed a man for driving 3 miles down the wrong side of the road on the A12. The driver of the car was Gregory Taylor from Tiptree. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison for offences that included dangerous driving on the A12 and he was sentenced to Ipswich Crown Court last month. He admitted the offences at a previous hearing. He was also disqualified from driving for 4 years. The 35-year-old appeared in court for 17 road-related offences in connection with 5 cars in separate incidents between July and September. The one incident that he was filmed on showed him driving towards oncoming traffic and he collided with bushes and then he abandoned the vehicle and ran away. An investigation began and he was quickly identified as the same driver of 2 other vehicles that failed to stop for police earlier in the year. When he was arrested, he admitted in custody that he was driving the cars illegally and had no licence and had no insurance. The police said that Gregory Taylor showed total disregard for anybody that was on the road and anybody's safety as well. So hopefully he can sort his life out and get off drugs when he gets out of prison. In this other story coming from the northwest area of Essex, police from the Rural Engagement Unit rammed a Range Rover to stop them during a pursuit that lasted for 40 minutes. Essex police in 2 marked vehicles came across the Range Rover after people had reported that they were trespassing and they were trying to poach game. The Range Rover left the scene but was located by the air service helicopter shortly afterwards and police tried to stop the vehicle. They refused to stop and drove off. The officer in the second vehicle tracked the Range Rover that was doing speeds of 70 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour zone. They were forcing drivers to take evasive action and they nearly hit a cyclist. The chase eventually ended up in Enfield in North London and Metropolitan Police vehicles assisted, but the vehicle began to continue to drive dangerously and they had no choice but to ram the vehicle. The suspect was arrested and later charged with dangerous driving and evading police. In some other news coming from Kent Police as well, a driver that fled and caused a crash while he was trying to avoid a police helicopter has been jailed. He's from Tunbridge Wells. Oscar Soloku was disqualified from driving when he got involved in the police chase and exceeded speeds of 115 miles an hour during a pursuit that saw him collide with another vehicle. Police from Tunbridge Wells community policing team attempted to stop the vehicle on the 28th of January 2022. It was part of an investigation into drug supply. The police said that he was reckless and dangerous and he accelerated away as the chase went through several residential streets in the town centre. The 27-year-old jumped red lights and crossed onto the wrong side of the road in a bid to evade capture. 2 school children were also forced to jump out of the way to avoid collision when he hit a Land Rover in Pembury Road. He was then chased down the A21 by a police helicopter and travelled back onto the coastbound carriageway. The vehicle was successfully tracked to his address where he was living in the Maidstone Road area. A search of the property made a discovery of knuckle dusters as well, and he was charged with possession of the offensive weapon, dangerous driving, driving while disqualified, and driving without a licence or insurance. So really appreciate you joining me for these stories, and don't forget to send your stories to news@scarcitystudios.com, and I'll be back again very shortly with some more.